Thank you so much for staying tuned. If you just joined us, don't say, Will, I missed this show. You still have at least 20, 15, 25 minutes to be with us here in the studio, because right now I want to take a look at land grabbing, the impact in socio-economic development. Have you been a victim, or you're a victim, or you're battling seriously to reclaim, to retain your land for development? What are your experiences? Have you experienced some youths, you call them unknown youths, coming to your plot of land, no matter the dimension, to tell you, hey, this is not yours? Where is your sea of O? This one belongs to this community. It's not in this community, and you have to settle us and all that. People are thinking that in Edo State is going to be a thing of the past, but it's like it's still lingering. I still have my analysts with me in the studio, and they're to bear their thoughts and, of course, their opinion on this particular issue. I want to start off with Barrister Matthias Obayowana. What do you feel about this trend? Despite the disbandment of the CDAs and some other bodies that are being pointed to be the root cause of all this situation, the situation remains the same. We still get complaints, we still hear people complaining, wailing, gnashing of teeth due to the fact that with the hard-earned money they used to purchase a particular plot of land, woke up one morning to be told that the land doesn't belong to them. Take it up from there.
It's a sad development, that people engage in this land grabbing. Land is a beautiful commodity, that anyone could invest in, because it appreciates even stronger than shares. You buy a land today, in the next 5 years, it becomes something else. So you can really make a living, you can really grow wealth from investment in land. But how many persons have the muscles, have the temperament, and everything, the stress of preserving and protecting whatever piece of land that you have acquired, in such a way that you come tomorrow, you still meet it there, allowing to appreciate or developing it, whatever it is. People just look around the community, see any vacant plot of land, and then they rush into the place. The government has done some work in terms of trying to protect and preserve this commodity by the enactment of the Private Party Protection Law, to ensure that youth-based organization, or young ways, enigies, and whatever it is, whatever nomenclature that they go by, don't engage in taking people's land. You go and see any vacant piece of land, you just, even though that are even fenced around, they can break into the fence. Though that you have planted anything on, they can go in and bulldoze and take over. Notwithstanding whatever provision of the law. Now, the Private Protection Law has been set up and have been restrengthened to ensure that when you are having issues of this nature, petition to that committee, they have the powers to investigate, and they also have the powers to, prosecute. A special court by the PPP law has been also asked to be put together that will, sit over such matters, arising from land grabbing. There is another disturbing factor which I believe is fueling this, is encouraging them, which are by this medium calling upon the state government, the Attorney General of the state, to look into. Now, if you observe that with the advent of the Land Use Act of 1978, some courts in their decisions are coming up, with judgment, try to posit that if you have any land that is covered by community approval, whether signed by the Enogie or signed by the Odiowere, that is not Oba's approval. If you have any such document and you see somebody has encroached on your land and you go to court with such document to try to preserve or protect that land or prevent the encroachment from coming in, the law court, even where you don't have any, maybe the no trespasser, person that has trespassed, you do not even know, you are the only one who came to court. The law court will look at the document and say, this document cannot grant you, they are not valid land document. Even when you go to the Edo GIS to go and get a C of O to perfect that document, they tell you that the C of O cannot perfect that document of a community approval or a no-give approval, whatever it is, that from 1978 when the Oba approval was no longer in existence, any document that does not carry Oba's approval, whether or not it has a C of O, the law court will strike it down. Some of the judges in the Edo High Court are doing so. They will strike it down so that it cannot give you valid title. So the state government must come into play to ensure that they discuss with the chief of Edo State so that they can harmonize and find a way of how to have a perfect title. If I spend so much money to go and acquire the C of O, and the C of O is struck down by court, that it cannot give me a valid title because it is hinged upon a community law approval that is signed by the Noge, that is not signed by the Oba of Benin in 1978. In 1978, can the Oba of Benin still be FCC for 1989? Can they not still be issuing Oba approval? What people are engaged in doing, they go and start faking the Oba's approval, backdating it because that is what the court want to see.
Like what happened?
Whereas, if you go to a GIS, whatever document that you bring, community approval, signed by the Noge, they accept it from you and give you C of O. And then the law court will not go and strike down that C of O and say it is hinging upon community approval. So the government must find a way of harmonizing this to protect the interest of Nigerians. So that whatever document that will be valid title document in Edo State, they must come up with that control paper and let us know.
I'll come back to you on that.
We don't hold the document in our hand and say we have that document is covering our own land. Somebody are now encroached on the land. You now go to court with that document, it is being struck down. That they are now encouraging, land grabbers. Because they have all the powers within them. They go there and take your land, knowing fully that if you go to court with that community approval, the law court will say it is not invalid. Even when you have a CFO covering it. So they must come into play to ensure. Otherwise, they will make no sense of the PVP law.
I'll come back to you on
that. But that one is done.
You heard him talk about some court judgment and the rest of them. What do you feel about this?
I align with him, absolutely. And looking at the situation just now, I think Edolites and those who also invest in land in Edo State should also make themselves available by putting up petition to the PPP Commission or committee so that they can look on issues arising from land grabbing, because at times the people also contribute to why the law, the PPP law, and the committee seem not to be working. At times, out of fear, they don't even come out. They don't even want to say anything, because just like a situation I'm having just now in my hands, somebody just ran to me last week here and said, "Look at this and this." I said, all this why have you been silent? Why do you keep quiet? And these boys who metamorphose from CDA to what they now call Okaigele and the youth, and begin to carry out dastardly acts, doing all sort of crime against people who land developers or people who want to invest in land in Edo State. Look, if their activities is preventing people from developing in lands in Edo State, then how can the state, how can the various communities not develop? So, but these youths, they don't give a damn. You see them, even where somebody buys land from individuals, they will come up and say, community. The truth remains, no community owns any land. It is individuals that contribute or donate land to community for public interest or public purposes, as the case may be. No community owns any land. But here we see the youth will just come up and begin to take people's land and begin to do all manner of things. That we don't want it to continue. So just like he said, and the courts that are now giving judgment, trying to look at Oba's approval as dated back after 1978, is, to my mind, I think that shouldn't be the position just now, because such judgment will now encourage these persons who are carrying out this act to continue. So I join him to call the executive governor and also call on the attorney general and the chief judge of the state so that they can meet and harmonize this and see a situation where we can now stop or stop land grabbing in Edo State, and also make this youth to understand that if you violate this position of the law, this is the punishment that will be meted on you.
Okay, now it's like a C of O versus Oba approval. I don't really get this. Honorable Desmond Ubo, you are a grassroots man. What is really going on?
my brother, just like what Master Bayiwana had mentioned, that before 1978, there is what they call Oba's approval. And that was the title to any land. And after that year, there is this community approval. Just like recently when Obaeware also gave a Nogi, Okao, and Ohen some kinds of powers to exercise authority over their domain. Let me make clarification to this. In a community where there is no Enogi, no Ohe, no Okao, the Odionwere is the administrative head. In a community where there is a Enogi, perhaps there is Odionwere, the Enogi is the head. There are some community along the creeks, the boundaries of Edo State, particularly the creeks. We have Okao. That is where the Okao now supersedes over the Odionwere and every other person there. The Ohe, in some community where there is a shrine of the Oba in that particular community, the Ohe there supersedes the Odionwere. And that is the arrangement. Now, we are beginning to see some of these Okao, in some instances, some of these Ohe exercising overbearing influence over and above Odionwere, and also going ahead to become the sellers, the grabbers of land, like in the case of Oromi recently. The areas he alluded to, which borders on the court now setting aside community approvals and relying so much on Oba's approval. Rear its ugly head in Ikpobaha recently, where two men were sentenced to prison for forging Oba's approval, knowing fully well that approval did not come from Oba. When they now compare the real Oba approval with the one they now forged, it became very glaring that these people have actually gone to forge it. What pushed them to forge it? Is it not the outcome of the judgment of that decision? So I think there are cases where the Odionwere, there are some community they call Odionwere boys. Because after the disbandment of CDA, we were talking about Okaele. Ordinarily, in Benin traditional certification, there is no place where Okaele will be asked to go and sell land. There is what they call plot allotment committees. These plot allotment committees are saddled with the responsibility of
sale of land,
selling lands to prospective buyers. And it is the Odionwere that is the chairman. It shouldn't be anyone else. Because when the issues become controversial, it is the same Odionwere that you hold responsible. I'm not sure Odionwere will want to sell land for 2 persons. But there are some areas where Odionwere will be between the age of 35 to 40. In such a climb, you cannot expect Odionwere to do otherwise, but to do like a youth. Because they want to amass wealth quickly. And the aftermath of all this is what is slowing the pace of development in the society. If you check, despite all these hula baloo by CDA and the rest of them, you can check. Around 2016, if you are going to Ekiadolo from Moluku here, if you look at your right side, above the bypass, you see that the numbers of buildings has increased over these years. And that has even made it a town now. Go to Ekiadolo, after Ekiadolo, even to Okokwo River, left and right, no free land again. It has been developed. If you go to, at a time, if you are going to Ekiadolo, you'll be looking at the folk park now. It will be inside the bush. Go and look at left and right, there are beautiful buildings there. So there is this quest, this desire for people to go and own a house. If you marry and you are still in rent, what comes to your mind mostly is how to get your own house. And once you have looked for ways to get money genuinely, and people just from nowhere come to grab your land and begin to read so many traditional, both holy and unholy customs to it, or say it is this land does not belong to you. There is a case of a friend of mine who bought a land around 2015.
Yeah.
Then, around 2018, the man started developing. I mean, planting something just to retain the land. Only last year, when he got there, they went to erect monkey fence and took away about 15 feet from the 100 feet. Who does that? It is the community. And when he cried out to the elders, and the guy went there and said, he called the man earlier on to say, you enter into my land, come and let us see. The following day, the man said he's coming. The man didn't come, he went on his behalf and erect monkey fence. And when the man got there, he break the monkey fence and called him to come and let us measure it first before you can erect monkey fence. They said the man should come and kill goats, that he has offended the community. Where do such a thing happen? If not in an atmosphere of crisis reading where there is no law.
All right,
the state government, as a matter of fact, come out clearly to determine the title to land. Instead, it will become a subject of litigation, and that will create legal crisis.
We are going to revisit this topic because right now so many things have been raised talking about the Oba's approval. Our Royal Majesty, our beloved Royal Majesty, is he still giving out approvals today?
No.
Or one in the past? Because these are the questions we really want to know. Now, the CFOs and, of course, this community is coming up together. What should be the right title deed? We don't have enough time. These are the questions on the ground begging for us because many things are beginning to fall apart. So many communities pertaining to land developing and land grabbing is getting really advanced. I know you have so much to say.
Because the CFO
is
being made nonsense of.
Okay.
Decisions coming up from the court.
We are going to.
If the government does not intervene to determine the appropriate title document for land acquired after 1978 in Edo State, this crisis will not stop.
Linger.
Okay, we will definitely revisit this topic because it is like a burning issue. I would want to say Oba's approval versus CFO. No, we're talking about harmonization. Which of these documents should the court really stick with if you want to deliver judgments? In 1978, the dates, I mean, there's so many things that happened. Should it be community approval, general approval, or here? We don't really know because we have to go straight out to the field to really get to know about all this. If you have your land, try as much as you can to protect it. PPA is still there, but with all these things coming up, is it going to make mockery of all process? That is what we really want to know. We're going to revisit this talk. We don't have enough time. Gentlemen, thank you once more for coming on today's show. I appreciate a wonderful analysis. Hope when I call upon you talk about this land grabbing thing, you come again. We have to expatiate more on this. The approval, the seal. Is it the Oba's approval, the CFO, or community approval? Should there be a harmonization of all this to give us one unique approval? That is what citizens of Edo State want to really know. From all of us in the studio, saying have a wonderful Sunday ahead. Bye for now.